It's Glenda and Hayley, isn't it? Heather. How good were they? Oh, Heather. Thank you. I think I might have done a hammy, but thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Good. I'm going to use my glasses because I'm getting old. I guess before I get started, I just want to acknowledge the Biripi people here and pay my respects to elders past and present, and of course to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that may be with us here today, recognising the enormous contribution that they've made over many tens of thousands of years, and really the legacy that we all get to enjoy today in this beautiful country and this beautiful location, which I've got to say, they'll come up from Sydney any time. We should have conferences here all the time. What a beautiful place. We at Destination New South Wales really do value First Nation stories and First Nations culture. We've got a product development manager who looks after that area in particular, and we've also working with the federal government at the moment with the Aboriginal Experience Development Pathway Program. So there's $1 million set aside of our money for this financial year to continue that work, which is co-matched by the federal government. So a nice thing to do and really important for the visitor economy as a whole. So as I said, I'm Steve, I'm the CEO of Destination New South Wales. It is wonderful to be here. I've got to say a big credit to the team at Destination, the network North Coast, to John and to Michael and all of the team that are involved. Today's been amazing. It's been absolutely fantastic. Daryl, your session this morning was inspirational, so thank you for that. I don't know if you know yet, but I think we've booked you in for another session later in the year. But to all the people that have been here, thank you for your contribution, and days like this hopefully make a big difference to everyone in the room. Just so I get a sense of it, how many people in the room are like operators? They actually sort of dealing with customers on a day-by-day basis or visitors to the region? Okay, gives me a good idea. Okay, local government, that sort of area? Okay, terrific. Well, look, I've got a few things to go through. I don't think it'll be as energetic as what we just had, but hopefully we'll give you a bit of information that might make a difference, and also hopefully spark your mind to understand a little bit more about what Destination New South Wales is all about, and how we can work together to continue to grow the visitor economy. And Destination North Coast is really our shop front to this region, and their feedback, their input is vitally important. My career has traditionally been in retail for many years, and it's always walking the shop floor that really gives you a sense of what's happening. And so being in region, talking to yourselves, finding out what's happening, what the visitors are saying, and what you as operators are experiencing, and what, whilst there are some positive numbers, and we'll go through them, has been spoken to, is also challenging at the moment for many people as well, with costs increasing and the difficulties you have to operate through within this environment to maintain a first-class customer experience and keep your businesses going. So our whole purpose is to deliver economic and social benefit for the people in New South Wales by growing the visitor economy. That's what we're all about. And so really we work as a legislative body of the government with all the different parts of government, both federal, state, local councils, etc., and with operators to try to help everybody earn more from the visitors, encourage more visitors to come, stay longer and spend more. Just keep an eye on time. Let me see if I've got a point up there apparently. Here we go. It works. Okay. So a few numbers for the background. I did have some numbers for the region, but I've cut those slides. They might be up there. We'll skip through them because they were very well covered by Michael earlier on today. This is the state's visitor economy picture as we sit here today to the end of 2023 and into 2024 on a sort of a rotating MAT basis. And you'll see the numbers are quite positive overall. So overall, our visitor expenditure for New South Wales has climbed to $52.9 billion. It is the first time in recent, so that happened at the end of December last year, that the visitor economy was over $50 billion for the state. When we started with the visitor economy strategy, we set a target that by the end of 24, we would be ahead of 2019 numbers and fully regain that momentum that was lost through that period. We have well and truly exceeded that. In fact, we are now some 41.5% ahead of where we were pre-pandemic in visitor spend. If you look at the visitor economy over the last 10 years on a compound annual growth rate for New South Wales, it has grown by 6.8% every single year on average across that 10-year period, including the pandemic slowdown. The New South Wales economy has been growing at circa 2.5, 2.6. So the visitor economy really is a central part of the economy overall, and particularly in regions such as this, where it's such a big employer and a big contributor to the economy. And it's certainly a message that we and I and the team try to drive through within government, but also with local councils, and it was great to hear at the beginning of it today, councils working together to make sure that the visitor experience is as good as it can be, and councils that are really focusing on the value of the visitor economy to maximise the economic and social outputs for their regions as well. When I say quite regularly, we'll be successful in our roles when we have premiers and prime ministers standing up and saying, this is our economic plan, and within the top three, growing the visitor economy is one of those big pieces of focus for the government. And to date, we haven't necessarily heard that at that level. I'm delighted to say that 2 nights ago, I was at a Business Event Sydney function and the Premier of New South Wales spoke. And for the very first time in my time, a Premier stood up and really articulated the value of the visitor economy and how important it is to the state and how much we are going to be focused on growing that into the period ahead. And the work that we touched on before, and I'll speak a little bit later about the review of the visitor economy strategy, which is going on right now, and I think many of you in this room who no doubt have participated in one of the workshops or written submissions, whatever it might be, to get those outcomes, and that's all feeding through. So it's really, really important, the work that we do. We are in a good place for the future, but frankly I think we can do so much more. And the upside for the visitor economy, it is already about 6% of total GDP for the state, so gross domestic product, or GSP I think we normally call it. Of the total state economy, the visitor economy is between about 6 and 7%. That will grow over to about 8% plus in time ahead. So we are really focused on working through it, and certainly my role is to sort of be the voice of the visitor economy within government, and to work across government and with yourselves to make sure that all those of you that put your hand up and said you're a local operator, that your businesses are thriving, and that we're doing all that we can to get out of your way, clear out the obstacles that might be there, for whatever they may be, planning restrictions or rules or etc., to make sure that you're as strong and viable as you can possibly be. And that's really what keeps us going day in, day out. On those graphs you can see the international expenditure has reached $11.8 billion. It's now surpassed 2019 levels, so pre-pandemic it was 11.2. So that's taking a little bit longer to come back, as we can appreciate. The Chinese market is still a fair way off where it was pre-pandemic. It's coming back slowly. But markets that particularly we heard earlier from here today, those USA's, UK's, European markets are well up. But within the Asia region, which is where big growth will come from in the decades ahead, we're seeing enormous growth out of India, which continues to grow at around about 20% plus per year. Korea's gone gangbusters. Indonesia is very, very much up period to date. New Zealand's still there, and they're a big contributor to this region. But some of those other Asian markets will become high growth areas for this area into the future. The next one I just want to show you is the split, if I press the right button, between Sydney and regional New South Wales, to give you a sense check of where we are at as we sit here today. So you can see where the two bars diverge. So pre-pandemic, the total value of the visitor economy, as far as visitor spend goes, was traditionally Sydney a little bit above regional New South Wales. Through the pandemic, we were all locked down. Everyone visited regions such as this one, and it's flipped the other way. It's just now, those two lines have just hit each other once again. But what's really important to see is that both of them are still well ahead of where we were pre-pandemic, and the opportunity for growth through regional New South Wales is particularly strong. Domestic visitor expenditure is up by 41.6% in total. So that domestic market is still thriving, and we touched on the international a moment ago. When it comes to regional New South Wales, as far as the domestic expenditure goes, 62% in regional New South Wales versus 38% from Sydney. So for domestic expenditure, 62 in the regions. And that is 19.2 billion of domestic overnight expenditure, and it's 6.2 billion of day trip expenditure. So day trips are a really important part of the overall mix of the visitor economy, and we include those numbers within that as well. Regional New South Wales, 39,000 businesses and 75,000 tourism jobs, with plenty of opportunity for further growth. So some pleasing numbers and a good foundation to grow. As far as the significant value of the visitor economy, you can see this, is hopefully you can see it, and these can all be supplied afterwards if you don't have the photographic memory. You've got the domestic spend and the international spend up there on the screen. So domestic expenditure, holidays 20.2 billion, visiting friends and relatives 8.2 billion, business 6.8 billion, and the international, where education really kicks in, 4.4 billion for international, 3.9 billion for holiday, 1.8 billion for visiting friends and relatives, and just under $1 billion for business as well. So that's where the mix comes from as a whole. The next one I'll just go through very quickly is the driver analysis. So we do surveys every month of